Hey, RedEye, it's Bob Zemeckis. I'm here promoting the new film Flight, which opens on November 2nd.
So, just want to review a little bit about your background. You grew up on the South Side, right?
Yep.
What neighborhood specifically was it?
Roseland.
Roseland. What's your first memory of going to the movies when you were a kid in Chicago?
Yeah, I saw The Blob. That was the first movie I remember seeing. I was about 5 years old.
5? That's young to be seeing The Blob, no?
Yeah, well, I mean, in those days, nobody cared about what kids saw. Certainly when you grew up in the South Side of Chicago, it's like movies were movies,
How do you feel like, if at all, your Chicago upbringing has factored into the films that you've made?
I don't know. It's a good question. I have images of death in every movie, but I think that's more from Catholic school than Chicago itself.
How come?
Well, because Catholicism's all about death and dying, so.
So that's not a Chicago thing. That's just
no. There's a lot of Catholicism in Chicago, so it's kind of, but that's sort of. I guess that's the only thing I can think of. But I can't think of anything else that's a Chicago influence. Mm-hmm. I don't, because I don't know.
Obviously, you have an extensive flying background yourself. How many times have you flown a plane upside down?
Only when you have to do it for. We have to do things called spin recovery. Where you intentionally put the plane in a spiral, so it's not really upside down, but it pretty much feels like it. And so you have to do that every couple of years just to practice recovering from that.
What's the scariest moment that you've had while you were flying?
Losing my bags.
It's pretty terrifying.
It's very terrifying, yeah. And it makes you really angry, too.
Never anything when you were actually steering?
Flying's very safe. I haven't had any scary incidents on airplanes.
Have you, or do you know of anyone who's had a drink before flying?
You mean a pilot?
A pilot.
No, not personally. I don't think most pilots do drink.
So you've never had a drink before?
Who, me?
Flying?
Oh, no. I take those rules very, very seriously. That's really, that's like not a good thing.
Of course.
The one nice thing about, the way the system works is, any pilot who gets pulled over for a DUI immediately will lose his pilot's license.
Certainly, something that plays into the film is the notion that pilots are real people. They're not these sort of mythic heroes, and they can be flawed.
Right.
How much, in 2012, how much do you think people still have this perception of pilots as being kind of, incredibly powerful?
Well, I think they do, but I think they do because of their own sort of need to think delusionally.
What do you mean?
Well, I think they put people who are entrusted with other people's lives on that pedestal because it makes them feel more comfortable. I think they do the same thing with surgeons, doctors. I don't think they do it with politicians anymore, but anyone who is entrusted with other people's lives, people tend to do that only because of, because it's just easier to get through the day thinking that way, even though it may not be true.
Not that this person may have gotten 3 hours of sleep last night, and
you don't want to think about that. Or they're just having a really horrible day, or a loved one is sick or a loved one is dying, and that guy's got to go fly a plane. Obviously he's not going to be concentrating, but that is reality. That happens all the time. Or a guy who's going to do heart surgery who just found out that his wife was in a car accident. Or even stuff like that happens.
Or upset about the Bears game.
Or upset about the Bears game. There you go.
People
Absolutely.
Get distracted by a lot of different things.
That's right.
My impression is that it's very difficult to stress out Denzel Washington. Was there ever a moment that he seemed stressed, scared, and do you think it's possible to get him to that point?
No. He's so focused and so prepared. No, he doesn't. I've never seen him get stressed out. If he does, he doesn't show it.
What scares you or stresses you out?
What scares me? I'm one of those people who is in a constant state of self-centered fear. It's like, I'm always in a sort of state of anxious fear. So I think it's inborn.
What do you mean by state of anxious fear? Like you're always worried that a bird is going to fly into your
No,
head?
no,
Or?
I don't have phobias. I'm just afraid that life is going to come. Random acts of life are going to pull the rug out from under me. It's just that kind of. It's completely neurotic.
Where do you think that comes from?
Growing up in the south side of Chicago, it's that constant. It's that constant idea that the stormtroopers are right outside the door. It's like, batten down the hatches. The world's going to come crashing. I think it comes from being a first generation American and having parents who's come from an Eastern European culture, and it's that kind of that kind of just oppressive kind of sense of fear that's over a lot.
If you could live one of your movies for real, which one would you want it to be?
Probably Roger Rabbit.
How come?
Because don't you think it'd be cool to hang out with all these tunes?
I think it would be.
Yeah.
Which character would you take the place of, though, as you were living it?
Oh, no, I don't know. I thought you meant me being in there. You mean I have to be a character,
sure,
too?
You could join in,
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be one of the... I would never want to be any of the characters in my movies.
We only have 3 years to develop flying cars, automatic dog walkers, stuff like that. Yeah. What are our chances?
I don't know, but here's the thing. I know you're talking about the predictions that were made in Back to the Future too. I think we're betting we're batting 50-50.
Really? What's something you're proud of that came true?
Flat panel TV screens, junk faxes. All that. The list is pretty. The list is actually pretty good.
What has been your reaction as those things have
3D,
come along?
3D, what do you call holograms?
Do you kind of like throw your fist in the air when that stuff is developed? You're like,
well,
told
no,
you.
I don't have to do that.
No.
We have there are websites. We have fan sites that track all that constantly. Every time there's a new hoverboards. Guy invented a real hoverboard. So that exists.
Well, how much is there a certain sense of pride that comes from being able to tell the future?
Well, but wait a minute. We're only batting 50-50.
That's pretty good.
Well, yeah, it is. Most movies don't hit it that well. Most movies underestimate the future. That's the problem with predicting the future. You always underestimate it.
Well, how much money do you have on the Cubs to win the World Series in 3 years?
I don't know. I'm not. That'll be. I don't know. I'm one of those people who doesn't think the Cubs can ever win the World Series because their myth would be completely. They it's almost become their identity.
That would be really sad. Are you a Sox fan, being from the South Side?
I'm both. Now that I live in California, I'm both.
When you were here, though?
Oh, well, here you had to be a Sox fan for sure if you lived on the South Side. Absolutely.
I think when that movie came out, saying 2015 seemed really safe, and now it's 3 years.
Now it's creeping up. I know. Now then, I guess the movie will be quaint, won't it?
Yeah.
It'll be, oh, look at that. They thought the Cubs were going to win. Oh, let's see.
Quaint / devastating.
Right, but wouldn't it be great if we hit it? Wouldn't that be a story?
I will thank you infinitely if that's what happens.
Not only that, it will sell a lot of DVDs too.
That's true.
So it'll be good.
Okay. Well, it's fun to go back. We have so many classic movies. How do you think you might be able to convince Bob Hoskins out of retirement for Roger Rabbit 2?
I might be able to convince him out to commit. I don't think he would come out to do the lead, but I think if we were to. And we have a really good script for that, by the way, sitting at Disney. But I think if he came I could convince him to come out for, like a couple of scenes, work for a couple of days, just have his presence around. That'd be fun.
What if you told him that you were going to be in it?
That I was going to be in it? No, that wouldn't impress him at all.
So that script is finished?
There's a sequel script which is really good. It's finished, yeah, it's really good. We're waiting for all the Disney executive shuffle to settle down to see if they're going to do it or not.
Sure. Obviously, you've done so much with performance capture technology. A lot of varying opinions about some of those films. When you look back at some of the early stuff you did, like Polar Express, what do you think about? Do you ever wish that anything was different? Do you have any regrets about the way that any of those turned out?
No, not at all. I like I said earlier about Back to the Future. I think you make movies, in the time that you make them, with the technology that you have and the abilities that you have, and that's how they live and that's how they are in the universe. And I'm not one of those people who believes in going back and changing things because you can. I think that when I finish a movie, it's done.
So we won't have retrofitted 3D versions of.
Oh no, I can't stand that. No.
That makes two of us.
Yeah, we'll never. Yeah.
So was there, a lot of people have kind of debated about, the eyes in some of these movies. Was there ever a time when you were making that stuff that you looked at it and said, I wish this looked different or anything like that, or was it just kind of like, this is what it is and we're going to keep working
it is. It's like, Polar Express is, an incredibly successful movie. Every Christmas it's reissued in IMAX and it makes $1 million.
Sure. We're probably a little short on time. Just want to check in. The press notes, I thought that Yellow Submarine was off, and the press notes indicated that it was still on.
No, it's off.
It's off.
Does it say that in the press notes?
It does say that in the press notes.
Oh, I should read those.
So that's definitely not happening anymore?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do a remake. No.
Is that disappointing at all?
Nah, well, it would have been really cool. But, at the end of the day, I've got so few movies, I don't know how many movies I have left in me, so probably shouldn't waste a lot of years doing a remake.